fix that, Mr. Klein? No, but I don't need to. Hello, friends. How about a little PGA DFS live before log on this beautiful Wednesday evening here at Stokastic? The Memorial is upon us. Now I hear echoes, but that's not going to stop me. Don't worry about it. We're feeling good here. We're ready to rock. I'm Ben Rasa. That is Geoff Ulrich. Jordan Klein behind the glass. And we're going to talk about all things PGA. We're going to build some lineups. We're going to talk about all the things we've got going on and hopefully make some money at the Memorial at Jack's place. We were talking about Canadian provinces before the show. I think we're ready to rock, Geoff. What do you say?
Yeah, look, I mean, again, this could just be a thing where we get into the Canadian wilderness and like what's up there. And
we should.
I could just tell you stories about weird things that have gone on in the Canadian
wilderness. I'm here for it.
There's been some serious crime. Like if you're into like deep crime, like true crime stories, we had guys like going in a couple of years ago that they went into the bush to not be found. There was the guy went on I'm not even gonna get into it. It's actually really sad. But I mean, like there's there's weird stuff going on up there.
I don't even know, man. Like I said, I don't even know where to begin, but I actually do know where to begin with Charles Schwab recap. And our friend, Ghetto Farmer Boy. How about Emiliano? I think we all did. I know us two did, and it felt like society got over the line finally with Grillo last week. It was out of a movie. Whatever movie you referenced before the show, it was out of that movie. Seeing Grillo win and then lose and then win again. I mean, how crazy was that finish?
It was one of the crazier I've ever been involved in. I mean, we have done this for a bit. I've been betting outrights for close to a decade now. Not quite there, but you get in some strange spots. You get in some real like just back and forth where you like one shot and just crazy than the next. That's right up there. Because as we were saying, we had him locked in. I mean, he stepped on the 18th. He had a 2-shot lead. There was no more birdies left on that course because of how dry it was. We just needed a bogey, and like not even thinking that water is in play on the right side. So definitely just one of the crazier finishes. Would have been it was just a crazy overall Sunday, to be honest. I mean, I was happy that Grillo won. I mean, I had just as much riding on Harris English, and watching him just completely implode from the start of the day got me down quick. But then seeing Grillo fight back, it's just like the emotions were all over the place. So it's an emotional Sunday. I'm not going to lie, man. Like one of the more I've had in a while. So.
Dude, it's funny you say that. A couple of things. It was an emotional Saturday, and then it was a relaxing Sunday. I didn't watch a shot of golf on Sunday until way later. I was getting some texts saying Grillo's coming back.
Yeah,
and I'm like, come on, no way. And I'll just say that we don't need to spend a ton of time on this, but I've also been betting some sports for quite a while. And realistically, if you're not tilted, if you're in a right frame of mind, there comes a point where you kind of know that you have it. Like it's beyond the realm. And I got to that point. Like I had accepted that he won the tournament. And then he was a dog after that to just show you what we were doing. Like he was minus 5,000 live. Saw it with my own eyes. Yeah. And I'm not sure if I had to hedge. It cost me some money in the end, but obviously that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen on 18. We got there. We cashed the ticket. I know a lot of you guys watching cashed right along with us, and now we're going to do it again because he's going to win Memorial maybe. Maybe not. But anything else from Charles Schwab? My only other takeaway is that I'm really stunned that Sanjay played so poorly again.
Yeah, there is definitely a PGA hangover there. I thought Sanjay was looking good through about 12 holes. The wheels just fell off. So I don't really know what that means. If he was just he's still looking for it, or if he just had a bad day and it rolled over. But certainly lots of PGA hangover, and something to just keep in the memory bank for next year. Because, I mean, we had Finau, Cam Davis. I mean, there's a laundry list. Spieth's dealing with an injury, I think. Just keep that in mind. I would really watch Spieth. I mean, I don't know why people were so apt to jump on Spieth last week. Clearly he was giving it the college go at the PGA, and him making the cut, I think, was the worst thing for him and for betting. but that's neither. Anyways, that's a completely different story. But yeah, definitely a PGA hangover, and I just watch that next year because it really does make sense. I mean, playing the PGA Championship is probably the worst prep for going to a course like Colonial, like in a lot of ways. So, yeah, that was my big takeaway. My other big takeaway is just I wish I hadn't turned the TV on Sunday and I just clicked in to see Grillo win at like 9 p.m. But that's
that would have been nice. Yeah, it was the only other takeaway. Talk about your boy Tommy Fleetwood, because what was that?
Yeah, that was another one. I mean,
just really
that was the name that was escaping me. I've just already erased it from my mind. Yeah, I mean, just never got it going. Made one double on Friday and just never made another birdie. Like, it didn't even really play that bad. Just didn't play good either. So I don't know. We'll see. The nice thing about some of these guys is they probably needed a break. They're getting a break. We're going to get them at better numbers down the road at some point.
No doubt about it. Let's get going. Let's move on here. We always start with our friends at DraftKings and Rainmakers. There are so many ways. That's the beauty about PGA in general, to get exposure to some of these golfers, whether you're betting them, whether you're playing DFS, or you're going the Rainmakers route. And if you are going the Rainmakers route, free pack available. It is in the link, the description of this video. You always want to check out what they've got going on. A ton of money up for grabs. We see it each and every week, and you're going to claim it. It's a free pack. There's no reason not to claim that and at least get involved. $350K in contest prizes this week. They've been pumping it up. I can only imagine what's going to happen for NFL. So get familiar with the format and with everything else there, because the Memorial is no joke, and there is a lot of money up for grabs. And this is a great tournament. I'm a huge fan of this course. I want to talk about it because don't worry, we're going to build some lineups in just a second, but let's talk about Muirfield Village so we know what we're doing a little. Jack's Place. It just seems like a pretty damn good test, as it always is.
Yeah, it is. It's a true championship course, man. I mean, it really is. They set it up so it doesn't just it's not just like a pitch and putt where it's just, you can't just drive the ball out there and then, you can just fire it up with your irons. There's dog legs involved. There's some tighter driving holes. There's bigger driving holes too. I mean, the driving accuracy numbers have gone up since the renovation, but really challenging approaches, as there is on most Jack Nicklaus design setups, and smaller greens, which just as you see from the past winners, it always forces people to be pretty apt to be pretty solid around the greens. So I just always think of it as like one of the best all around tests we get. It's kind of, I put it up there with courses like Bay Hill, Riviera. I think those are courses where you can't just do one thing well and expect to really excel. You've got to bring it. Like you've got to bring your long iron game. You've got to hit some wedges. You've certainly got to have a short game. And if you can put it all together, certainly you can challenge. But just a really nice course with, which has played pretty tough since the renovations. But the one thing I will say, it's 7,600, but I don't know if you'd still even call it a bomber's course just because of the way it's set up. I think that with like Billy Horschel and Aaron Wise kind of going at it last year and some veteran names, it's still what I'd call more of a second shot course. So, but really, really solid. Definitely one of my favorite stops on the PGA for sure.
Is there, just to kind of follow up on that, because you mentioned it, I agree, like second shot course. Is it like everything else where give me a good iron player who maybe likes some fast greens and we'll call it a day? Or is there something else? Par 5 scoring comes to my mind. Any other like areas of emphasis maybe?
Yeah, for me, I mean, the long par 4s here. I mean, the one thing about Memorial is it's set up, Jack basically designed it to be like Augusta. So you have to score on the par 5s, but the par 5s are all reachable in 2. And I know one thing of note, like last year, when Rory was talking about the par 5s here on the new course, he's saying a lot of them are basically like 3-shot holes now because the greens are so dried out. The way they're set up with dog legs, players just aren't really as keen to go for them. So I think that's part of what's making this a little bit less of a bomber's track. The bomber just can't take advantage off the tee as much potentially. Doesn't mean that you can't be good off the tee. You have to have a good week, but maybe just not necessarily, you don't necessarily have to be like the longest hitter. So I think just par 4 efficiency on those 450 to 500 yard holes is really key. Being able to save par, bogey avoidance, and around the green stats. I think after approach, those are kind of the things I'm looking for. Really though, just players are playing well in all facets of the game. I know that's kind of a generalization, but it's just one of those courses where if you're not firing, I don't think you're going to find it here. Like you're going to get exposed at some point. So It kind of goes to the quality of winners that we've had here. I mean, I know we had the Lingworth McGirt kind of double dip there, but other than that, I mean, Cantlay, Rahm, and even Billy Horschel last year. I mean, a really classy veteran player. So,
yep, I totally agree. I think it's pretty repeatable course too. Like you see guys who play well, they play well here. And I think there's reasons to that because it is a true test and we're going to get that. So let's get into it. Let's do what we've been doing. I like this little formula. Jordan Klein, pull up the lineup generator for me. I'm going to go DraftKings balanced with Jon Rahm locked. And what I mean by that, you're going to see it on the screen in a second. Our lineup generator allows you basically to kind of craft what you want to do and see what kind of lineups you can build. It is quick. It is easy. It's obviously available. I'll talk about it in a second. You really select your criteria. And for me, I love just picking a guy at the top and saying, what are these lineups going to look like with a Jon Rahm? I want to see like these balanced Jon Rahm lineups. And with that, you're going to get all sorts of players and we get a good indication of, okay, what is the player pool going to look like? It's obviously generates in a couple of seconds. You see your lineups. You can go 1v1. You can go 2v2. Geoff, you always point this out. Our ownership and our projections are in the tool. So you're getting all the data right in there built in. And you see with Jon Rahm, you're going to have a lot of, you're going to have some dudes. I see
a lot of Andy Putnam. A lot of Andy Putts with Jon Rahm this week. But yeah, I mean, look, the generator shows you, like the thing I like about it is it shows you what levels you probably need to target. So you don't need to keep 67% Andrew Putnam, but I mean, I don't mind Putnam down there. Certainly he'll be a popular target, but like David Lipsky is a player I like down there too. I mean, certainly you could swap in some Lipsky to balance out. So, but that kind of shows you what you're looking at with the Jon Rahm build. You're probably going to be dipping down into that range, which I actually think is completely fine this week because I mean, like Lipsky, Putnam, these guys are pretty good players. And like, I do think that they can compete a little bit here. So like I said, I don't think this is necessarily what you call bomber's track. So yeah, it's just a fantastic tool to just let you know of what areas you need to be targeting and what kind of pivots you may be able to make.
Absolutely. Link is in the description. If you use that link, you're going to get it for a week for $4 and change, less than $5 to test this out. If you don't like it, you wasted a cup of coffee, but I use this every week. I really believe in it. It is clean. It is easy. The team did a great job. So check it out. Link is below. Jordan, if you can throw it in chat, my man, I appreciate it. But let's get into this because I mentioned Jon Rahm, and obviously he's amongst the betting favorites. But Scotty Scheffler is here, who, if they didn't putt, he might have like 5, 6, 7 wins in a row because he's dominating tee to green. Rory, nobody wants to use at this point. Cantlay, I think, is getting the most course bump at right. He's 10-1 in the outright markets, and Xander is just there at 10-2. Major level options, major level decisions. How do you break down the top?
So obviously Scheffler and Rahm are absolutely fine. I mean, how you look at it or how you want to view them. I mean, I'm not sure how you would necessarily like pick someone over Scotty Scheffler at this point, just with how out of his mind he's playing. Certainly running well too with the Sunday hole-in-ones. So he's got that. Our projections certainly agree. I mean, this is probably the biggest gap we've ever seen between like Scheffler when Scheffler and Rahm have been in the same field. Scheffler's pushing over 10% for a win projection. Rahm is actually like sub 7%. So just to point that out, those are our projections and they really like Scheffler, and I'm not shocked. And I think that you should lean Scheffler over Rahm. I think that's just the correct take. You don't have to get too crazy. Rahm had a great run. Look, Rahm's still second in our projections. If he comes in and dominates, it's not going to be shocking, but certainly mixing in both is good. I think that where you can really get leverage this week, and I think it's good leverage, as I'm with it, is using Rory. I have come to understand that in these spots when nobody likes Rory and his odds get bigger than guys like Cantlay and Schauffele, it's just a mistake. Rory is not a worse golfer than Patrick Cantlay or Xander Schauffele. They should not be at the same odds as him for an elevated event. And if Patrick Cantlay, as good as his course history is, this is more about Schauffele really with DFS, because Cantlay's course history is hard to ignore. But if Schauffele is going to be double the ownership of Rory, you should play Rory and take the leverage and be really happy about it. I'm not sure why more people aren't bullish on Rory here. He gained 7 strokes on approach at the PGA. His short game's been fine the last couple starts. If he brings the same kind of ball striking, like what do we just need some putts to fall? Is anyone more motivated here than these 5 guys than Rory to maybe shut some people up? I love it. I love the leverage you're getting. You can still play him with Scheffler too. We just talked about all those 6K guys. So I think that for big fields, when you're chasing those top prizes, I have no problem putting, taking the shot with Rory this week.
I mean, it doesn't take much
No.
to convince me that the thing that I like about it, it's not, it doesn't have to be, I should say, an or. And what I mean by, like, this is an invitation. Exactly. It's a pretty easy cut. You can go Rory and one of these guys. Now you're going to be going into the 6s, but that's fine. There's no problem with that. And I'm very comfortable, of course, clicking in any of these other dudes. They're playing elite golf, but Rory is a under-owned golfer this week. And I guarantee that if he comes in around 10% ownership, that I would back that blindly every time. I don't care about the result. He should not be 10% owned, and maybe he won't be. We'll see where it ends up. But it's looking like he's going to be the lowest owned of the 5, and I think that's virtually certain.
I think he will be around that, though, and I think it just comes down to people don't want to fade Cantlay because they're so scared of the course history and the fact that he tops 10s here every year. And I kind of understand that. And then they, you also just feel like, well, not playing Scotty Scheffler is just like, it's, you just like basically feel like you're dead before you start at this point. So I do think Rory's going to be really low owned. I think people understand at this point that there's low ownership to be had, but I don't think enough people are going to come to the conclusion that this is necessarily a spot to take a chance. But again, course history is fine, but even as we've seen with Hideki at Phoenix, I mean, eventually these guys will finish T30 one year. They'll have a little bit of an off year. I don't know. I'm not going to not now. I'm never, unless Rory's coming in with like one leg, I'm never not going to play half owned Rory over at the same price over like Cantlay or Schauffele, mainly Schauffele in that conversation, but really both of them.
I want to ask you quickly about Scheffler, because it's been ridiculous, but he also is pushing probably going to be the highest owned player. And I get it. I mean, tee to green, it's comical. The putter has been weak. Are you just indifferent to him? Under, over? To me, it's kind of a wash. I don't have a strong take.
I mean, this isn't really a strong take, but I would be more inclined to go under. He's 11-3. Okay. He's really expensive. And I mean, you can make really good balanced builds this week. And when you use Scheffler, like you take out a big part of the field. And just looking at the other thing is like, you look at the history of this event, it's typically not the guys who come in favored. Like we're in between majors here. And I'm not suggesting by any means that Scheffler is like, oh, well, I got the US Open, I got to take it easy this week, I'm just going to drink milkshakes or something. But, like this has been an event where we've seen a lot of 50-1, even 20-1 winners, guys not necessarily at the top of the board. So I personally think it's a good week to go a little bit more balanced. Again, I'm not suggesting like you just shut out Scheffler or something. No. As I mentioned at the top, I mean, he would be my choice over Rahm, but I would be okay being overweight. I mean, I think he's the most expensive player in the field and he's the most owned. That to me is not generally the spot that I want to go like crazy on. So, yeah. And you mentioned the putting trouble too. I mean, if the ball striking for some reason regresses a little bit, I mean, it could be trouble. It's a tricky course. We do see players blow up here every now and then. I'm not suggesting you miss the cut, but it just wouldn't shock me if maybe he just slowed down for a week. This would kind of be a spot I'd pick. So,
and it's one of these situations, for me, I don't have a strong take, but I'm probably coming in underweight by default, because unless you have a strong take, I think you end up underweight. Like to get over, you might have to have half your lineups.
Exactly.
And I'm not doing that. So I have him in the pool. I hope he gets cut. I would sacrifice my lineups against the fields for him. And that's kind of where I'm at. But we've got Morikawa, it's still the top tier, but it's kind of that second top tier. Morikawa, who I did bet at 22-1. Hovland. Day, who seems potentially legitimately injured. I've heard some whispers. Hatton and JT. I mean, what do you look at And are you going to start with like a Morikawa in a balanced build?
So Morikawa right now, I mean, a lot of what I said about Rory, you could actually make the case with Morikawa. I mean, he's going to be basically half of Hovland's ownership. I still think there's a little bit more concern with Morikawa just because, I mean, Rory, like I don't have to worry about Rory's short game so much, but we got to worry about like multiple things with Morikawa, it feels like. But there's a lot of leverage there as well. I just like Vic too much in this range to necessarily like rank him above. But again, you can certainly, you know, if you want to start lineups with Morikawa, I think that's fine too, and go balanced with a Morikawa Hovland start. So you could definitely view him the same as Rory. I don't necessarily like using him as much as Rory. I would rather go up to Rory. He's the one who's coming off the great PGA. I just have I've seen Rory do this so many times where it looks like he's in a funk. He gets everything figured out, and then he just comes in and blasts the next time. I'm just a little bit perplexed as to where Colin Morikawa is right now. I know the ball striking's fine, and certainly the putter could wake up at any time, but you know, it feels like we've been waiting, and I just don't really. I'm just not as confident, basically. So the leverage with Morikawa is nice because you're not going to have to take too much of him to go overweight, and you could even just look to him in betting, which I think is fine too. He's got a bigger number than Hovland, which, and again, this speaks to the Cantlay Xander stuff. Whenever Morikawa is like double the odds of Cantlay, he's not a bad bet. So there's definitely exposure to be had with Morikawa. I just don't have as much confidence as Rory. If I was picking one for leverage, it would be Rory.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable. Zach mentioned this in chat. I'm not saying like, oh, definitely do this, but if you're building a bunch of lineups, Rory Morikawa start is fantastic.
Use whoever you want after that. I mean,
build vanilla, generic, and you've leveraged with 2 elite win equity leverages. Like that's totally different. And I'm okay. You can look at it one of 2 ways. Morikawa, he's made 5 of 6 cuts, all better than 31st was the worst finish. Or you could say he's got nothing better than a 10th at the Masters. Like he's been fine. His irons are elite. His putter's been garbage. Even look at his course history here. He came in second at Memorial and he gained 5 strokes putting. The year before he lost 8 strokes putting here. It's a mixed bag with him. I think 22-1 is a real good number though. I'm really advocating for that bet.
I think there's bigger numbers out there too on him at this point. Pretty sure I saw 25. So
Good
again,
job,
I think there's multiple ways you go about it. If you just like a balanced build, put him in your DFS, and then you don't have to worry about betting him. But if you're leaving him out, certainly just grabbing a piece is fine, man. I mean, you know, the numbers on, like if you're betting tonight, the numbers on guys like Hovland, I mean, Cantlay, I mean, these things have been bet down. So Morikawa is the guy who definitely hasn't been.
What are you doing with Justin Thomas?
Yeah,
He's the one I'm really torn on.
So as we get down here too, there's some interesting like 1v1s and like 2v2 comparisons that I think are actually really interesting this week. This is one of them with Hatton. I considered betting Justin Thomas this week. Again, we're talking about a player wins every year on the tour. It's an approach-driven venue. It really should be a good spot for him. And it really wouldn't shock me if he had a really good week. And I do like him for DFS because it seems like everyone is really high on Hatton. And I understand Hatton's played great, but we're talking about Justin Thomas versus Tyrrell Hatton. And it's not a fair comparison overall, right? So I do like him again for DFS. I mean, I think he's a great play down here. You don't have to like force him in. He can be part of a balanced build. You could use him as a second guy in. If you're using Scheffler, it should get your ownership down a bit. But I do like him. I don't think he's going to have no ownership, but I don't think that like I said, he's clearly in our projections going to be far lower owned than Tyrrell Hatton. I think even at higher stakes, he will be. I think there'll be a significant enough gap between there. So I do like him. Again, you can use those 2 players that I just mentioned together, because I don't think you should use Jason Day, which is nice. It's kind of nice. Day has given us a little bit of information that we can just take him off the board. I wasn't very interested in him to begin with. And I don't know what's going on with Sanjay M. I think that at this point with Sanjay, we kind of need to see it again. Like, you can't implode twice and then expect us to get back on you. I mean, if he was 86 or something, sure, but he's right up there with Thomas and Fitz. So I like Thomas the most in this range. Certainly you can throw in Hatton, but Hatton will be owned for sure.
So I agree with everything. I didn't like Jason Day to begin with, so it's a pretty easy. If he beats me, he beats me. Sanjay to me is the tough one because normally I would try to really buy here because he missed the cut on the number. He played as bad as possible. His irons are so bad right now that it's uncharted territory. He lost 5 strokes on the approach in 2 rounds at the Charles Schwab. Like this is like
and he was legitimately, he shanked a couple shots. Like he hit a ball in the water on a par 3 where like water is barely in play. So
it's like a decoration lake.
Yeah. So that's what I mean. Like it's a little concerning. I don't think that he necessarily gets it right back. And if he does, I mean, like, fine. I don't mind. I just certainly like Day and M, you could definitely look to take little pieces of, I guess. You really won't need much this week to get over on them, so that's nice. But just not golfers that I'm like very keen on at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna force a little Sanjay in, but I don't feel good. It's just a blind ownership play. Let's move to kind of the mid range. It's still arbitrary, but you've got the Fitzies, Jordan Spieth, who I really I might get a little, but not a ton of interest. Cam Young, always a difficult evaluation. Decky, Burns. Ricky will get to, he gets his own category. Talk to me about the upper 8s and Fitzy.
Yeah, Fitzpatrick just seems to be going a little bit under the radar this week, coming off the missed cut. I don't think we have him high up in our ownership projections at all. I can't even find him. No, Fitzy? Way down there. So
yeah,
you're going to get low on Matthew Fitzpatrick, which is really nice. I know, I talked about Spieth a little bit. I'm just passing along information. I've had it was from someone on the course that he's still dealing with something. I don't think it's a major injury. And as I think it was Michael in the chat mentioned, he wouldn't be here if it was that bad. So both good points. I don't think he's 100%, but I also don't think that, he's going to pull out. But it's a deep field event here. And like Fitzpatrick's coming in with the same ownership. So I would probably lean Fitzpatrick there. In terms of those two, I really have no interest in Cameron Young right now. I think what we're seeing with Cameron Young is just, I just think it's pure regression. I mean, I just don't think he's that good around the greens. And I think we just kind of got an anomaly season from him. I mean, is that too simple to say, Ben, with him? Like, I don't know.
I'm the wrong person to ask. It's everyone. This is what happens. Like everyone, like, oh my God, you hate. I don't hate Cam Young. I think he's from right around where I live. I root for him. I don't think he's. I've said this before, and this might be egregious. I think he's closer to like Cam Champ than some of the elite. Like he is borderline where he has one elite skill set and he doesn't have a complete game, and he may pop at times, but I don't know right now if he can week in and week out compete with the best of the best all the time.
I mean, his approach game can get fired up. So, if he can even just be decent around the greens and stuff, he could certainly pop here. I just, as a, it's really bad. I don't know, man. I mean, I think that Cameron Young has a little bit of appeal to me just from the perspective of you don't need to do much with him. And if he does have a really hot week with the putter, you get really paid off. Maybe he makes a couple of eagles or something, but I don't know. I think it's pretty risky, especially because, our guy Hideki's sitting there at 8-7 and coming off a really nice PGA. The ownership's getting up a bit. I think people finally realizing like, oh, Hideki's only 87. He's playing well. Everything seems to be really good spirits right now for Hideki. Another player who could bomb out a little bit on the greens or something, but he's played here tons before. I got no problem with it. I know there's a tournament matchup bet on DraftKings I really like. It's Matsuyama versus Burns. It's basically like minus 110 or minus 115 for Matsuyama. I mean, come on. That's easy.
I hear you. And I actually agree that Cam Young is going under owned, which is great for me because I might just take some to cover and not allocate a ton. When Cam Young has been in this spot, he has been 25-30% owned. That's not going to be the case this week. Yeah. And to me, that's crazy.
It does kind of feel a little bit like the Open Championship. where he was literally 2% owned.
Yeah, him and Hovland. And
yeah,
and that was due to a misread. The only difference I see, though, that was due to a misread of the course, because everyone was like, oh, it's the Open. You're not going to be able to take it apart off the tee. And you know, take Cam Smith away because he's not a real person. And Rory and those guys just really went to town.
Yeah.
I like Decky far more, but you are getting a big discount. I don't like Burns. So Ricky quietly played really good last week after he killed so many people at the PGA. He's coming to a place when Ricky was Ricky, he loved Memorial. I'm fine with him at 8.5, but it is a pretty premium tag.
It is, and it does seem like everybody is now in the vein of, and I've done this year too. I mean, I put like an each way bet on him at the PGA. Everyone wants to get on the Ricky win. So
of course,
you know,
we got Griot.
He finished next up. Yeah. Nobody wanted to get on the Griot win, but everyone wants to get on the again, like it's kind of like the Hat and JT problem for me. I mean, you can just pay up $200 for Hideki and JT versus Fowler and Hatton. But I like all four of them. I mean, I think Ricky can come in here and have a good week. I bet him for. I actually wrote Ricky up for a first round leader bets. He's got an early tee time. I think if you're looking for exposure, that's one way to think about it. His outright numbers down in a place where I wouldn't touch it at the moment. But I mean, the only thing that I really have an issue is he's you know in the same vein as guys like Lowry, Scott, Hideki, and I feel like at least two of those players have better win equity than him this week. So, and he's going to be far higher owned, but he's certainly got a good floor. I think he's got the good course history, played well last week. It's just a matter of how you're building and what other players. If you're starting Rory and Morikawa, absolutely you can use Ricky. If you're starting Scheffler and Hovland, probably don't want to throw Fowler in as your third.
Yeah, that's fair. I'll give you one other way to potentially do it. His 3-ball, I don't like Burns, and he's also paired with Siwoo, who's played 5 weeks in a row. Like, I think Ricky's decisively the best player in that 3-ball. So if you're looking to bet stuff like that, I don't like Burns or Siwoo this week.
Yeah, Siwoo is interesting.
5 weeks in a row.
It is. I know. I noticed that too, and that's actually why I bet Scott over him. I just think Adam Scott is in a better spot because I really considered Siwoo this week, but I like Siwoo as a player, but 5 weeks is a little rough, and I don't know why he played last week. I mean, he's played well this week, and I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, Siwoo, it was a guy I more just mix in. I like Lowry and Scott over him, but it's really close between those three. I will say that. Wyndham Clark, I just feel like is just overpriced a little bit. Connors is going to get a lot of ownership. And then Theegala, man, Theegala does it to me this week. That would suck. But I can't get on the train with everyone else. It just feels like everyone's jumped on when we should probably be a little bit hesitant here. His ball striking has been all over the place. His around the green game kind of saved him at the PGA. I love him as a player, but it does feel like too, he finished 5th last year. Is there a little bit too much pressure on him now? Everyone's picking him. I don't know. It just doesn't feel like the greatest spot to me, but I hope he gets it done because he's one of my favorite players at the moment. But I do think that I would much rather go down and pay those cheaper prices for Lowry and Scott, who both had tremendous PGAs, great experience, the veteran kind of players like Horschel that we've seen get it done here. So that's kind of the low 8s for me.
I just want to throw one more name in because I basically agree. If Theegala beats me, I'm going to have to live with it. Great player, elite talent, not there. Corey Connors is going to be pretty popular, and he could potentially be really popular in maybe some small fields and stuff like that. He's 8,300. Obviously, we saw him PGA, Wells Fargo. It's been great. The putter's been great. Around the green has been great. Do we just keep buying, or is this the time to say maybe I pivot?
I mean, it's a good question. I mean, I feel like he'll have a lot of ownership, but like Scott and Lowry are going to soak up ownership too. So I don't really have a reason to not like Connors. I mean, he's just a player who, if he falls in, fine. But I think I would probably just lean Lowry over him. I mean, again, coming off the great PGA, He was 13th here. I guess the only thing I would say with Connors is, of those three, he's probably the most likely to kind of blow up on the greens and lose strokes. And it is a tough putting spot. He hasn't putted great at Memorial. I think he had one positive putting year. That's my only take on Connors. But it's not like a fade take. It's just, we can't play everybody, right? I mean, like you just can't fit them all in unless you're gonna go like some hyper balance build, and those guys are all gonna have ownership. So I would lean Lowry or Scott, probably put Connors third in that group, but like it's really close. And actually I will say this, our projections actually agree with me. They do have Connors. This is kind of why I really like the Stokastic projections. They're really good, first of all.
Because they agree with you?
Because Alex just does what I tell him to do.
Smart.
But they kind of just they agree to the sense that Lowry and Scott are slightly better values. And they all sort of have the same top 6-ish probability. So
I like it. Also, like, friend of the show always, Jorge, appreciate you, my friend.
Oh boy, here we go.
So would you consider anybody a lock overall? So we'll take it one by one. That to me is a risk tolerance. If you're like, I don't care about losing 100%, I think you can lock a lot of players, mostly towards the top, but any of those top end guys, I personally wouldn't do that, because if you're building 150, I think it's better to have kind of a core in each level. Like for me, up top, I would look to Rory. I would probably look to someone conservative like Cantlay. You drop to the mid range for me. Got Ricky. I've got Decky. We'll get to Bez and Benny on. I think I would mix and match maybe my two favorite in each level with a lot of 1v1 pivots. That's how I would approach it.
Yeah. And, again, like when I used to put in like 150 or 100 lineups, I did use that strategy at some points, and it's super high variance, but when you nail it, you really do give yourself a great shot at the first prize. I would probably be looking at someone like Hideki this week. I think his price is just, it's too cheap versus other players. I think he's in good form. I think it's kind of everything you want, and you can fit him in so many different builds that it's not going to hamstring you. So that's probably where I would be looking at. The other player, if you really want to get sick, would be Rory, because I think Rory has a lot of equity, like just great leverage. And I mean, if he's a person who could literally just come out and win by 3, and that's kind of the player that I would be looking for. So those would be probably my two top considerations there, just because of the ownership with Rory and just the complete overall package with Hideki.
It's the only other thing I'll say, it's an easier to make cut, so you can be more aggressive. Like these guys up top, you have to be a real goblin to not make this cut. Like even if you don't have it, you should get through. This is not the US Open or anything. It's a short field. So find a way. Find a way to get through. All right. We got a couple good questions from chat. First, any afternoon, morning preferences? None for me. I think it plays pretty standard. I don't see a wave split. Do you?
Yeah, no. The only thing I would say is when I was doing first round leader research and stuff, is a good trend towards the AM. I think it's going to play really dried out. So for showdown, definitely lean AM starters, first round leader bets as well. But I don't think you're going to see huge wave differentials where you need to like go one wave or the other. There's just not a big gust difference between the first 2 days. It's actually looking like good weather for once. So
it should be beautiful. Can we talk about Griot? Oh, we could talk about Griot, my friend. Yeah. Let's talk about Griot.
What was your favorite part of Sunday? Was it him just looking at his ball in the creek? Was it him playing golf with 2 kids as his warm-up for the playoff? We didn't even talk about that. Or was it what he said on Twitter the day before when somebody berated him for his round 3? Then he gave him the mom joke in response. Basically won the PIP award as well this week. What a week. What a
bingo card. So he had a tiger fist pump at one point after. I'll say this. You know, when they're lining up their putts and then they go to like the bird's eye view, Rio was putting them in the center of the center. Those putts were no doubters. A miracle. But I mean, he's 7,800, so he's obviously come up a little in price. If Griot putts, which he's putting unsustainable, let's be clear. But if he is putting well, like he's been for the past month or two, this guy can play. Like it was never an issue of can he play? It was, you can't bleed strokes around the green and with the putter all the time. So
Yeah,
I think
and
he's fine. There's a better field, but he's playable this week.
absolutely, man. One thing we've seen too with players like Griot, this was like Keith Mitchell went on a run like this around when he won. They get so confident with the putter that it just like for 2 months they'll just rip. Kokrak is another great example. Just rip off
Forgot
top
he
10. Yeah,
existed.
Kokrak broke me for a year too. But you could see
Valspar.
this with Griot for a couple months where he just rips off top 20, top 10. And yeah, and Ben just breaks in cash after cash.
I bet him again this week. I mean, it's partly because like I have to. But
Right. Yeah, you
yeah,
gotta sacrifice a little to the golf betting
yeah. I
gods.
mean, this is a splash, but um, and it's a weak range. So let's get into this range. This is the bottom of the mid range. Tom Kim, Keegan, Cam Davis playing real good golf. You've got Killa Keith, Denny McCarthy. I'm fine with a lot of these names, but I didn't say like, oh, that guy's wildly mispriced. Let me
Yeah.
jump right into him.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way about this range. I'm warming up to Russell Henley for sure. But the way Griot's putting, like I'd almost rather just go back to him. Bradley, kind of the same deal. Both guys are a little bit interesting. I think I would definitely lean Henley over Keegan. I think Henley's got a little bit more upside this week. We've seen Henley handle long courses. I think he's fifth at Augusta. The putter was actually working for him last week. He's gaining strokes on approach as well. So, I think Russ could absolutely come in here and have a pretty solid week. He's only 7,900. But after that, I would actually have to go down to my guy, not my guy anymore, just the guy, Harris English again at 75. I mean, he played well. The ball striking's there for Harris right now. And I have seen him do this before as someone who perpetually bets him.
You do.
I remember back to the Palmetto at like 2021. He's in the final group there, absolutely imploded, just like last weekend. And then like 3 events later, he came back and won. So he is close. Like Harris is close. He will win soon. I am fairly confident of that. I don't really have a problem going back to him, to be honest, because this range is pretty weak, and he's playing better than he's just better than Kuchar and McCarthy. So yeah, those are kind of the players I got pegged. But I think there's a pretty solid argument just to use Griot here, to be honest.
Well, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you got me. Credit to you. You got me on Harris English last week, and a lot of good it did me. I had 0% 6 because of Fleetwood and Sanjay.
Yeah, we were in the same boat there, my friend.
I had such great. I mean, I did pretty well because I had so much Griot, but
yeah,
Fleetwood and Sanjay destroyed what could have been a really good pool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our lineup too that we put together, because one of my single lineups was almost exactly the same as that, but we just needed to get Fleetwood through, and it would have been a banger. So, anyways,
Benny on at 74. I've seen his name a lot. People are going to use him, but there's really no doubting that he's doing everything you could ask for except putt, and that's a big except. But Ben is his preferred surface. He's making cuts left and right, and the difference between Benny on and most bad putters is he's an amazing around the green player. Usually you don't see that. Benny on is a great around the green player.
Yep. Fantastic. Lost here in a playoff. He's playing really good, man. His off the tee game right now is as dialed in as I've ever seen it. He used to be great off the tee in his first go around on the PGA, like between 2016, 2019. Straight, long. That's why he'd always get in contention. But he's back, and I love the way he played last week was great. He just couldn't putt. But you know what? Again, those were really burned out greens. So I have no problem going back to him. He's certainly going to get a little bit of heat. I think people are realizing. I do not mind Chris Kirk here either. Jack Nicklaus designed course, just like PGA National. So, if you're getting a little bit too much Benny Ann ownership, or you just don't want to play a guy who can't putt, I think Kirk is fine. Hoagie makes sense here from like a stat perspective, but I don't love it. Kitayama, trying to time Kirk Kitayama has made me lose all my hair, so I'm not going to do that. Play him at the U.S. Open, I think, is a good play for Kitayama. A West Coast guy, but other than that, I like Benny. I'm fine. 10% ownership, sure, I'll take that.
Yeah, Benny's going to be a key piece. Some pivots off him, no doubt. As we work down, my next goal in life, now that I got Griot off the bucket list, is Christian Bezuidenhout. I am going to hit this guy outright at some point, and if I don't, I'm certainly going to die trying because I am going to keep playing him. He's 7,200. He has the right combination. The irons are secure. The putter is secure. I don't know if he can survive off the tee for long enough spurts, but I'm kind of willing to find out with Bez. I don't really get this price. I like him quite a bit at 72.
I mean, I always bring it up when we talk about him, but he has won multiple times against pretty good fields, especially when he won the Valderrama, which is a really tough course, longer course too. He's good. He's playing probably some of the best golf of his life right now. So yeah, that is a player I do not have a problem with. And I mean, again, like, you know, it's an elite field, but the winning score here probably gonna be like 12, 13 under again. Dried out greens. He hasn't putted like the greatest of late, but it's not been broken or anything like that. If he gets the around the green game working here, he can absolutely contend in a course like this. I think. I almost think again, it comes back to that argument too. I think this is almost like a good week for him off the tee because it's not a bomber's course. It's not wide open. You've kind of got to place it a bit, and a lot of guys are going to be laying up on the par threes. So I think that really does help Bez. I think that's kind of what we saw with Horschel last year. So yeah, I 100% agreement. No hold back there. I think Ryan Fox is really interesting too. I've talked about Fox before. He's a really good player. He seems confident with the putter right now as well. I have no problem with either of those guys. They're my two favorites in this range as well. By quite a bit, actually. I don't really love anyone else down here. Rogers maybe, but
yeah, Rogers, I put him on the list for sure. All right, let's move to the salary savers because we're about to crack into the 6K range. I will say, of course, we've been referencing our ownership and our tools and our projections. Again, in the link in the description, where you're going to find that lineup generator and your Rainmakers pack. You're also going to see the half off your first month of PGA Premium. If you're interested in getting inside the ropes, the best way to do anything, of course, is to maximize the value you're getting. It's there, it's available, and you're going to save a bunch of money by signing up through these links. So we always want you part of the Stokastic family here. Before we get to the sixes, I just got to ask this. Siwoo Kim has played 5 weeks in a row. Wow, that's crazy. What does that make Jaeger? Because
yeah,
he's in a whole different stratosphere. The guy hasn't missed a tournament in like 2 months.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jaeger right now is just trying to get enough points where he's like very secure in some sort of FedEx placing. That's the only thing I could think of. But it sucks because I wish if he had just taken last week off, I mean, this would be a really good spot for him. I mean, he's really strong off the tee. The putter even worked for him last week, but he's starting to bleed strokes on approach. And
I think he's out of gas. Truly,
it's pretty clear that he's out of gas. Yeah, I'd agree. So I mentioned it last week. Probably stay away. The only reason he made the cut, Ben, I don't know if you knew this, he sunk a 22-footer on 18 on Friday to make the cut. So
I did notice that because I had some.
Yeah.
And again, Fleetwood.
Yeah. If that could have been Fleetwood instead,
yes,
it would have been really helpful, but it was not.
It was not. All right. If you go like north of 10 twice or even aggressive, you're probably going to look to the 6K, and I think that's fine. Justin Sue is down here. Shank lost in a playoff last week. Alex Smalley's a project of mine. Your boy Davis Riley's down here. A million names. I mean, how low do you go and who caught your eye?
I really like Justin Suh this week.
Yeah.
Not much not to like here. And what we've seen with Justin Suh is like, it almost seems like he's been working on his putting, maybe to the detriment of his long game, but the putter has been really consistent. And that's good because the long games started to come to form. He was good last week. Even around the green, he was good. And really, really talented player. We've seen younger players kind of take a step up at this event. I really like him. Top 20 kind of bet for me as well. But this is easily my favorite play in this range. He's played here before. He missed the cut, but you know, having a little bit of experience never hurts. I just think that he's too good to ignore here, especially when he's playing well and you know making the cut at the PGA, finishing high up, kind of just hanging around in contention last week in a tough circumstance. He was in one of the final groups when the greens were burned out. So really good mojo there. Svensson is also interesting. I was actually really interested in him last week, so I was kind of disappointed he withdrew, but I don't think there's any injury issues that I've seen. His around the green game and putting has taken a step up this year too. I like both these guys quite a bit. Herbert, maybe for a little dabble. Streelman could see some continuation there, but
Yeah.
I think Svensson and so are it for me.
Yeah, again, there are names down here. There's no doubt. I think it's kind of just choose your own adventure. So is, I think he's just super talented. He's getting it together. He's figuring it out. Streelman's playing pretty good, as you mentioned. Neesmith is on my list. I just think for the ball striking for him, he's made 5 straight cuts. He's been 5 straight positive on the approach, 4 straight positive off the tee, 3 straight positive with the putter.
Yeah.
You just don't really find that in the 6K range. And Neesmith has shown he can make cuts. He was 23rd at the PGA. I expect him to just kind of get it done for you in the 6.5 range.
He's a good player.
Yeah,
I was hoping he would pop last week because I used him a bit and I bet him each way, but he didn't really pop, but he didn't play horrible either. And he just seems to be pretty close. I agree. Like 6,500, that's a really fair price. If he just gets across the cut line, he could easily have a big Sunday at some point. I think he will at some point and really pay off. So yeah, I'm all over that call as well.
Yeah. So you got him, and then I'll give a little nod to a couple other guys. I think first of all, Eric Cole was mentioned in chat. I have no issue with him. I do prefer Sue, but Cole's playing good. He's good with the irons. I could see Aaron Rye really can't putt, but he can do a lot of things. And he gained 7 strokes on the approach last week. He came in 12th. He's lost strokes putting in 5 straight events. That's going to cause problems. So I think he's a boom bust option at 6.5. You're a big Aaron Rye guy, aren't you?
Yeah, I know. I was just going to say, Mike is telling me when Suh loses 10 strokes putting, he's going to come after me, which is fine. He should come after me. No, Aaron Rye, I think, again, like Henley and like Bez, I think this course is actually really good. Like, if we get some sort of weird McGirt winner, like Aaron Rye is a name I could see doing it. He's really good. He's a very, very straight hitter. He's not going to get in trouble off the tee here. He's a good long iron player. He has to be because he doesn't hit it. He's like one of the shortest hitters on tour. But again, you're going to be laying up on these par 5s. You got a good wedge game around here. You can really get a lot done. So, no, absolutely no problem there either. The Rye is probably more likely to blow up for you this week, but he's playing better than like Neesmith, who we just talked about. I think his game is closer. So, yeah, no, absolutely usable. There's a lot of usable guys, like we mentioned. Lipsky gained 2 strokes on approach, 2 strokes around the greens, 2 strokes putting last week. Lipsky's made the cut here twice before, so clearly very similar game to Aaron Rye, in my opinion. Good long iron player, does not hit it far off the tee. And his around the green game's been okay lately. So I think Lipsky's in play. Take a shot with Nick Hardy if you want.
God, Lipsky tilts me. I really liked him at Byron Nelson. He was 1% owned, and I was one start too early.
You were 1 start too early. What about Ches Reeves blow up last week?
I had some Ches. He was the guy I'm playing that you shouldn't if you follow me on Twitter.
I thought he was going to get in contention after round 2. And then
he's playing pretty good. He's 500 to 1 this week. His putter, the thing about Ches, when his putter's working, it works, and then he loses it for like 6 months, and then he gets it back. It's all streaks with him.
Yeah, very streaky player. But when he's in form, he can really stay up there. I don't know if I'd go back to him. I feel like he's played a little bit too much lately too, so that could be an issue. Oh, Brant Snedeker's playing.
I was just about to say Sneds is here at 6.2. Do not play him, but
zero interest.
Where has he been for the last year?
I don't know, actually. I legitimately do not know.
Like, he has not played.
No. He hasn't played since the Fortinet.
And that's not even is that even in 2023? That's like swing season, isn't it?
That was fall. Yeah, his last.
Where is this?
Wait a sec. Yeah, his last start was fall 2022. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, last guy, and then we'll build and we'll bounce it out of here. I don't think you need to go down here. Let's say you're building 150 and you're trying to beat 100,000 people. I'll give everyone's boy, Thirsty Lawrence, some credit. The guy makes cuts. He's made the cut at the PGA, made the cut at the Open. He's the flat min. He's 6K. I think you could do it. I probably won't because I don't need to do it. But that guy's not bad. Daniel Berger apparently is coming back soon.
Yeah, no, Berger's on the rebound finally. I thought he was going to be back by now, so I don't know, but
Bud Cauley may never come back. He's the one I'm waiting for because he hasn't been seen in quite some time.
No, what happened to him? Was that because
he got in a car accident?
That was the car accident, right? Yeah.
I believe. And then I don't know if there's more injuries, but he has not been there for a while.
No, he's been down and out for sure.
Yeah. Chase Seifert almost won on the Korn Ferry Tour last week.
There's some names coming back for next year on the Korn Ferry Tour.
Expensive. That's why I got to win now because I know with Harkins in them. Anyway, what do you say? You're inclined? You want to build a lineup? We'll go to DraftKings and see what we can do. Yeah, there we go. Let's do it. Here we go. Before we do that, I always want to say again, if you have questions that guys we didn't get to, at the Fantasy Grind, at Raz DFS, we're on Twitter, we're around, we're always answering questions. We want you guys involved with Stokastic. If you like betting, go to Odd Chopper. That's all the stuff that we're doing here. It's a load of fun, but it's time to build a lineup. Let's do it. Where do we start?
All right. I built this up. Let's go Rory. I really like we're building to try and win as people. I think it's legit. I'll let Ben take it from there if he wants to double dip up top or go balanced.
Now I'm gonna just I've been doing this each week. I think I said best available last week, and then I said Fleetwood like an idiot. My favorite play, I think. A lot of different guys are close for me, but I love Decky this week. One of my favorite plays, 8-7. It's just a solid piece. Hideki Matsuyama on the board.
Makes a ton of sense. Let's see here.
Aldrich's Pot Geiger. Nope.
I'm gonna give you some space to work with. I'm gonna put my favorite sub 7 play, Justin Sun, and then Mike and Chat can really come after me next week when he bails. Well,
I'm gonna
like the upside there though. I think Justin Sun is a player who's still very underrated. I'm surprised, he had a really good start to the year and people still not really talking to him.
Well, I'm going to just be a copycat. If you're going to take your favorite low-owned guy, then give me Bez right above him. Okay. Bez is he's making cuts. I've seen this guy play a lot of golf. He can play with the best players in the world. Maybe not every week, but Bez has that type of talent. And I think this is an objectively good course for him.
So we can finish this off real quick if we wanted. Because we could go. Oh, there's a couple. Wow, we have some really nice finishing options now. So we could go Thomas, and that would leave us in the Benny.
Yep.
Or we could just go Lowry, and you could take Fowler if you want. So I guess I get to decide. I want Mr. Lowry. Do I want Tom? I'm gonna go Lowry. I like Shane this week. He's overdue for another win. He's too good. Good setup for Lowry, playing really good golf. He's played well here before. Won in Ohio too, won the Firestone. So
won the Firestone, which is also a mammoth course. But that course is actually absurd. But yeah, and listen, you got Ricky right there. You could even, say you want Connors and you want to be different. That's the type of lineup. You leave a couple $100, boom, you've cut out a ton of ownership. So I love it. I love that core. I love that lineup. Good stuff. Mission accomplished, friends, and it's 9 o'clock on the dot. Look at that. Easy game. Again, friends, as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in, hanging out with us. A lot of you, hit the like button on your way out. And again, make sure you're subscribed to Stokastic. Check out all the deals and the links below. For me, for Jeff, for Jordan, for Emiliano, good luck. Enjoy the Memorial. And again, come by next week. Let's celebrate. Hopefully some big wins out there in the community. Thanks, guys. Talk soon. And we'll see you next week.
See you guys.